You know deep down inside that you were created for more, but somehow you still doubt yourself. All right, ladies, I'm excited for today's conversation with Jamie Kern Lima. If you don't know Jamie, she is the founder of It Cosmetics. She started it in her living room and grew the company into the largest luxury makeup brand in the country. She sold the company to L'Oreal in a $1 billion, not million, $1 billion deal, and became the first female CEO of a brand in its 100+ year history. Her love for customers and remarkable authenticity and belief eventually landed her on the Forbes American's Richest Self-Made Woman list. Today, she's a mother of 2 and an investor, a speaker, thought leader who is passionate about inspiring and elevating women. She is an active philanthropist who has donated more than $40 million in product and funds to help women face the effects of cancer with confidence. All right. So, Jamie sounds like a remarkable woman, right? She is. And she's also a mere reflection of what you see in her. And I'm really grateful that I had the opportunity to sit down with Jamie and talk about her new book, Believe It. Inside of this book, we talk about, or she talks about, overcoming self-doubt, gaining the courage to take risks and empower yourself and others, tuning in and trusting your own tuition, letting go of mistakes and insecurities, turning down the volume on your inner critic. All the shit that you got to deal with the second you say enough is enough and I'm ready to live a life in alignment with how I want to feel. And as you know, this is what I'm all about. But people don't like the contrast. Nobody wants to have, uncomfortable conversations. How do you manage that fear? How do you take radical responsibility for how you want to feel in your life? So I'm really excited for you to dive into today's episode with Jamie. And while you do that, I have something for you. In a few weeks, I am going to be doing an emotional freedom kind of like challenge type thing, but we're not going to do this in a Facebook group, and you could do this via text message. So I'm going to do this via text message where step by step for 4 days, I'm going to teach you how to take a radical responsibility for how you want to feel. It's the Emotional Freedom Challenge. So all you have to do is text me 313-710-5199. 313-710-5199. And we're going to start on April 19th. That's Monday, April 19th. So text me the word courage. 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 Text me the word courage to 313-710-5199. And we are going to be starting the Emotional Freedom Challenge on April 19th. All right, let's dive in. Let's make magic happen. Let's see how motivated you are to get over your self-doubt. Not get over it, work through it. Have the courage to take big risks, because when you take big risks, that is where the magic happens. Welcome, Jamie, to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, Heather. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
I've been watching your story unfold, and I know you probably hear this all the time, and it's like amazing, magic, the courage to not only tell your story, but reading your book. And I'll just post it up here for anyone who's watching the video. Believe It, how to go from underestimated to unstoppable. And the theme of what I was reading is like just getting knocked down and picking yourself back up. And how do you believe it? So I'm just going to ask you that question. Like, how do you keep having this big faith and belief
when you're getting no, 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 no?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like so many of us get rejection in all forms, like every single day, right? Whether it's in our personal relationships or friendships or moms at the PTA meeting or in our careers or in our dreams. And part of why I wrote Believe It is, almost every single day I get messages from so many women that will say things like, oh, I heard about your story. Like they heard the highlight reel, right? Or they saw social media and they're like, oh, you went from Denny's waitress to building this huge, company, It Cosmetics in your living room. And like, was it easy, or did you get lucky, or did you have connections, or did you have a lot of money? And I'm like, oh my gosh, what I realized. And then they would share how they're stuck, or they're getting rejected so much and they're about to give up on their idea, or they're feeling excluded from mean girls at work, or whatever it is, right? And I realized that when people just see social media or highlight reels or a lot of the stories out there, they just see that, the highlight reel, and then they feel alone in their own journey. And, my whole journey is really learning how to believe it. Like my real story is not, a business success story. That's part of it. But the real story is a girl who went from not believing in herself to believing in herself, and not even knowing how to hear my own gut, to learning how to hear it and then trust it. And I think that is the biggest goal in life. Like one of the things I talk about and Believe It is how for a long part of my life, and by the way, I have to say, that's why I love your show. And I love that you have these conversations, because they're so important to sort of like peel back the curtains and talk about the stories behind the stories that help us all feel less alone, more enough, more, greater permission to feel how we feel and be where we're at and all those things. I think that, I talk about in the book a lot, all the rejections, all the setback. I also talk about being so outcome oriented, I guess, goal oriented, and then realizing the victory, I think, in life isn't, did I set a dream and accomplish this dream? The victory is like, am I hearing who I am, trusting who I am, and becoming all of who I am? And you know what I mean? And I think one of the things you and I were talking about before the show was this idea too of, how do you accomplish your dream but not burn yourself out, and all these kind of things, and have it take a toll on your health and I made a lot of those mistakes. And I also learned that, and so many people who have had a big goal, or maybe even achievers. By the way, I've never even talked about this on the press tour or anything.
I love that. I'm like, I want to ask you questions that nobody else has asked.
No one is. Yeah. Well, a lot of times when we're achievers, or we have goals or hopes or dreams, and I bet you so many of your audience will relate to this, that when you finally achieve one, you're like, oh, I thought I'd be happy then, or I thought this would solve all my problems, or I thought life would be great then. And then what we end up realizing through life, or sometimes people never realize this, is like wherever you end up going or whatever you end up accomplishing, you still take you with you, right? And I learned that the hard way I would call it a mistake, frankly, of working so hard, right? And I know you and I shared this in common. I was so burnt out for so many years. And I do not believe I had to work 100-hour weeks to sell a company for $1 billion. I don't believe that when I look back. I also know that we can all have big hopes and goals and dreams, but it's so important to realize where we're at now, and the journey of stepping into all of who we are is the real victory, not the outcome or the goal or the accomplishment, right? And, when I write Believe It, how to go from underestimated to unstoppable, I really mean unstoppable in our joy, our faith, our belief in ourself, our trust in ourself, and in our journey of just becoming all of who we are. And so that's what I'm so passionate about.
I love this. So looking back, you just said it. You're like, I didn't have to. work 100-hour weeks to build the company. And of course, hindsight is always 2020. But would you say it was a mistake, or would you say it was a learning opportunity and the wisdom that you have gained and accomplishing those things, right? And going, okay, what is it? What is it? What is it? So how do you show up differently today, still doing a lot in your life that maybe you did, 10 years ago, 5 years ago?
Yeah, I believe it's so funny because I believe every single step, like our steps are ordered. I believe everything we've gone through leads us to where we're going next, even when it doesn't make sense at the time. Like
Right.
I can look back to the days I was waitressing at Denny's, and I remember, Heather, there was it would take like an hour to get pancakes out. So they had major operational issues in the kitchen. So I had to become really good at talking to people and like hoping and a lot of people would get up and leave no tip. And I think back to then, creating this dream in my living room, which I had no idea what I was doing when I launched this company. I had almost no money, but I did know from my days waitressing Denny's, if you have operational issues, you're not going to make it. Like you better figure that stuff out. And I feel like everything, every step is in order. And so, yeah, I think the burnout, the work, all that stuff, definitely learning experiences that have changed who I am today. And also a lot of other steps in the journey. And, two thoughts that come to mind. One is, this whole through line, which really is a through line of the book, Believe It, which is how do you trust yourself? Mm-hmm. How do you hear your own knowing and make the decision to trust it, right? Because a lot of people, our lives are so busy or frantic and there's so much noise all around us. We have the noise of our own self-doubt. We have, a lot of us have friends or family or partners or loved ones that, mean really well, but they give us their opinions and they see our own dreams or ideas or hopes through the lens of their own fear. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden we hear the noise of their opinions and feel our vibration lower. And, a lot of us maybe we feel stuck or we feel lack of success of our ideas or our dreams, and all that stuff gets so loud that it almost drowns out our ability to hear ourselves unless we're super intentional about it. And, when I look back at this journey of how did I turn this idea into $1 billion company, or how, all these other things, and I did so many things wrong.